Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald with me here on this Thursday. You can tell it's a holiday week for kids because Cowan is out and about in his motorhome, Hugh.
Yes, his motorhome, which is just a little bit bigger than my flat, Peter.
Yeah. Which gives you an indication of how much money Tam spent on that motorhome.
We should actually throw out a competition. Spot Tam on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that would be good. A wee prize.
Well, you don't need, you just need to follow his Instagram and you can see what food he's eating as well, because there's a food post every day, Hugh.
And trust me, that motorhome is not hard to spot. It's like a mountain on wheels.
Yeah, absolutely, with his wee bob and he's just above the wheel. Anyway, good to have you along. Thank you very much to the countless people who've downloaded the PLZ Soccer app. As soon as you download it, there's a little menu, and when you hit submissions, you can actually type and it will drop right into the show live, as well as, of course, on YouTube, on the feed there as well on our live show. And if you can't get it live, then you can watch it at your leisure. And the reason I mention that is so many people, Ruffy, are now downloading the app. The podcast figures are fantastic. The YouTube, now that we're solely there, people are actually sharing it with their friends and subscribing. So the audience getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's great, you know, and I keep saying this. It's even better when you meet them personally, you know, when you're out and about, and the more people who are obviously are out there, and it's great when you meet them about. And I won't say where I meet them, but you know, I do meet people. I mix. You know,
absolutely,
so.
yeah.
There's a humility about you, Alan.
Yeah, there really is.
He's a man of the people.
Just talking to fellow proletariats. Anyway, lots of people from all over the place, all over the globe are dropping in messages to us. Some people love just getting their fix of Scottish football and maybe hearing an accent that they don't hear where they're living. And this in mind, I'll read out a few of them. I've got to read out a few. David, who lives in a far-off place called Airdrie. So I think they have to go through a kind of a 10-day isolation before eventually coming into the Central Belt. David, I'm kidding you, David, says, a big weekend for Scottish football. Can Rangers get the win at Ibrox against a much improved Hearts? As for Celtic, they'll need to win at Fir Park. Ruffy's prediction for the Friday night Accies versus Partick in the Championship, because Hamilton are struggling, to be fair.
Well, they got a good result. They beat Inverness, didn't they? Yeah. You know, I know they have been struggling throughout the season. We for some reason had our first away game against Northumberland and beat them quite comfortably, and after that we just haven't been able to get a win away from home. But not any better or any worse than these teams has beaten. We just can't get that first goal, so it'll be a really tight game. I think the new manager has improved Hamilton, so I think we'll have to be at our best to take something out of that game.
Yeah, Stephen, who's in Russia, says, great programme, I love Ruffy's one-liners. So there you are, somebody likes these one-liners that you got from the 1970s comedians programme, and says, oh, and Charlie dropping McGregor, really? We'll get your thoughts on that shortly, Hugh. Stevie Kerr in Edmonton, he's with the Edmonton Tartan Army. Jeez. And he says, here's our supporters bus for the game on Tuesday. I kid you not, this is actually where they were travelling in the supporters bus to Edmonton to watch the game. There you are. He's decorated his car completely. I mean, have a look at the back of it. That takes a bit of work, Ruffy.
That's fantastic. You know, I mean, we know supporters are keen and supporting the country, but he's really went over the board here. Wow!
That's a belter of a car, isn't it, Hugh?
Oh, I know absolutely nothing about cars, but I want that. Remember you were asking me what my dream car was, Peter? There it is.
Yeah.
Sitting there. That's an absolute beezer, to use a technical term.
Yeah, absolutely. Beezer, I haven't heard that since we were actually in the playground. But nevertheless, thanks, Stevie, for sending us that. And Stan Mackay is in New Zealand. He says, I watch the show on YouTube here in New Zealand, as it would be silly o'clock to watch you live. He watches it at his own leisure. I love the discussion, the laughs, but I have missed a programme. Have Rangers fallen out with PLZ or vice versa? As we never hear from Rangers in some of the press conferences. We all know they've fallen out with everybody. They're not speaking to anybody. You know, bar I think one interview every week with the two questions from Sky Sports. Other than that, it's all fanzines. I don't want to get into it, but the falling out with everybody, nobody gets in to their press conference, and I'm sure somewhere down the line we could dedicate an entire programme to it. But Nico says, I hate to be negative about Scotland, but Ruffy picked the team on Monday night, but the manager can't see the obvious. So I think a lot of people being complimentary to you. And Martin McGrath, who's from Bremen in Germany, says, I love the show. It was especially nice to hear familiar accents daily during the pandemic when the possibilities to travel home to see family and friends was heavily restricted. So we did something well in the lockdown, Ruffy.
Bremen was one of the last places I was before the lockdown. I think that was the last game I went to before the lockdown, was Bremen versus Dortmund.
Yeah,
what a stadium that is, Peter.
Well, I was going to say, Bremen.
Aye.
Yeah, I've been in it, absolutely, with Rangers, and a night I'll never forget. Rangers absolutely get battered. And
McGregor.
And McGregor was phenomenal. Lebenslang Grün and Vibe Werder Bremen, and Celtic fan as well is Martin. He says, is there any chance you could get Ruffy to read the German out?
No.
No.
I was on the bench in Bremen.
Yeah?
With Celtic, yep.
So there you are.
Never get a chance to obviously see the place because it was a game. We'd go out and make a few wee visits to the downtown sort of a thing, just a wee walk about. You know.
Yeah.
What's the big brewery they've got there?
The Bremen Brewery.
No, it's not. no, it's a real question. It's a beer they make there.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Anyway, the last one is from Brian, who's in Malaysia.
Goodness.
And he says, I'm a Dundee United fan. I almost fell off the chair when Charlie said Lee Griffiths was next in line for the Scottish forward line if he starts scoring for Dundee. Loyalty for a fellow team player is one thing, but Charlie needs to face the reality, which is Griffiths is totally finished with Scotland and Celtic. His opportunities have been and gone. Perhaps he's found his new level at Dundee if he can score occasionally. Thanks to everyone for for putting these messages down to us. We try and read as much as we possibly can, and of course talk about the football. And just look at the fixtures, Ruffy. What a weekend we've got! Back to club football, which I love. Hibs Dundee United, Motherwell Celtic, Rangers Hearts, Ross County St Mirren, St Johnstone Livingston, and Dundee against Aberdeen. And the one that's screaming out at everybody, can't wait for it. It's at Ibrox, Rangers Hearts.
Yeah, and everybody's obviously talking up Hearts, and quite rightly so. They've had a fantastic season so far. Hibs got a wee taste going to Ibrox and just failed because of the sending off. So Hearts will go there, hoping that they can do it. And everybody talks about challenges. In one-off games, Hibs and Hearts can challenge, but can they do it at Ibrox? And that's the big question, and that's what the players have to come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't resist. Bob White says, it's not true, Peter. Rangers charge £25,000 for media access. PLZ is too cheap to pay the fee. Bob, you're writing your own narrative there, to be perfectly honest with you. I was just going to body it, but when I saw that ludicrous statement from him, I thought I would read it out. Nobody's paying it, Bob, and nobody will pay it. Anyway, apart from anything else, it is a press conference. We like to get to see what the managers and players are saying about football. And Robbie Nielsen is saying that his side are in with a right good chance. And if they can get a grip in this game, if they can get a foothold in it, hearing the Hearts supporters will be a huge bonus, because I think 1,000 of them will be allowed in.
It's huge because when we, if we can get a foothold in the game, we can do well, and then we get the support off the fans as well, so I think it's great. And also from the fans' perspective, there's a lot of them that have been desperate to get back to away games, so to get them at Ibrox is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Football, nothing without fans, and 1,000's a start. There's no point in talking about it should be much, much more for fans, because quite simply, if it's not Hearts or Hibs and Rangers or Celtic who are prohibiting, huge amounts, but 1,000's at least a start and a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. I think it's a massive own goal by Scottish football to reduce allocation to fans. I mean, what other business would do that, And I see at times.
Well, we're a small-minded nation, Hugh.
There's certain elements of that, Peter. That's to be fair. So it'll be good that there's at least some noise from the opposition bench. A really good programme, of fixtures this weekend. Every game's got something really hanging on it, because we're at that stage of the season where a quarter of it's gone. Things are getting serious now. We know the division lines, and Hearts go there, and without making it too historical, Hearts go there with sort of echoes of 2005, Peter, when they had a tremendous start under George Burley, and people are starting to say, could this team do something? Could this team do something significant?
Have they got enough? Have they got enough about them? I don't think so.
I don't know, but you know how when George Burley was sacked, everybody said after that the whole thing collapsed, and it didn't. It did. History says it did, but it didn't. Hearts finished second that year, breaking up the old firm, and they won the Scottish Cup. It's funny how that sort of reality has shifted. Can they go on to the end of the season and challenge Celtic and Rangers to the end of the season? I would say no, because of the gap, the disparity in resources. But it's certainly an interesting game on Saturday.
Ruffy?
Yeah, another thing, if Hearts were to go to Ibrox and win 2-0, a lot of people would stand up and went, "Oh, what's happening here?" Because as Hugh said, Rangers have got all the resources, and you would think at the end of the 38 games that they would overcome that. But if Hearts were to win, the people over at Tynecastle won't believe that. They won't even take that into the equation. They'll be saying, "We've went to Ibrox, we've beat the champions, and we're on a run here. Anything's possible."
Yeah, but I'm just picking up on your point. I just thought I'd check and cross-reference, because I think to be able to go to Ibrox, and win early in the season puts down a marker. Because Hibs had the chance to do it and failed. But Hearts have got a chance to put down a marker. So let's cross-reference it. You've just said there, when Hearts were opening up under George Burley and that tremendous run, here's their side. You'll never believe who the goalkeeper was.
Craig Gordon.
So Craig Gordon's in goal.
I could possibly give you a side off the top of my head.
Well, go on then.
Right, Gordon in goals, Nielsen at fullback. What would your centre halves would be? Presley and Webster. Left back Fisas, the Greek European winner. 4 in midfield. You've got Hartley in midfield. You've got, who else would you have in midfield? A Bednar, a Brelier. A Jankowskis.
You're doing well.
Up front.
Well, Bednar and Jankowskis, but Brelier, Camazola, Hartley and Scatchell. And of course, you've named near enough the entire team, so you've done well. Now, for me, there's enough of a mix of quality there.
There's real quality there.
So I don't see that now, and I'm not being. I'm all for. I like to see Hearts and Hibs do well, and because I lived there for long enough, I've seen some right good Hearts sides. But this one at the moment, no disrespect, Ruffy, doesn't suggest to me that it can. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's got enough about it. I don't see. I like the boy Meningame. I think he's brilliant.
I think it's got enough about it in a one-off game. And they've proved that this year. Can they sustain it for a longer period? And I don't know if it was Tam or Charlie made the point. Can they go away from home continually and win games, which Rangers will eventually do, and what Celtic will eventually do? So it's a consistency level that they've got to keep up, and to do that you've got to have a squad. We've spoke about Rangers, they've got 2 teams. They've got a first team and a second team, and both of them could go in the park with the players they've got. Hearts haven't got that. They're a million miles away from having 2 teams that Robbie Nielsen could put on the park, so he's going to have to just get on with what he's got, and in a one-off game they've proved that they're capable.
Yeah, okay, and quite a few people obviously keen to know which game I'm going to at the weekend. So
I'm keen to know.
Well, I'm going to Hibs Dundee United. I think I've got all the reporters out at the key games, Ruffy. We've got them there for Rangers Hearts. We've got it out there for, I think, the one that's the main news one is Dundee Aberdeen for me personally, but I think this one, as far as the playing availability is concerned, Kemar Roof's a doubt. It's too early, maybe just too early for Ryan Jack, although I think it'll be great to see him back.
Oh, fantastic. I felt sorry for the boy when he got injured, and he was on the verge of getting into the Scotland squad and consistently getting the Scotland squad. The doubt was where we were going to play him. At one stage we were going to play him at fullback. I didn't get my head around that one, but he's certainly, to come back into that Rangers squad just adds to what they've got, if he get back to the form that he was on. Yeah.
As far as Hearts are concerned, the one key man that I think has been the talk of the steamy all this week has been Craig Gordon. Michael Smith today talking about the Scotland #1, he's just full of praise for him.
He's massive for us, he's not only the captain, but I think the amount of points he's he's got us this season already is huge, and even the saves he made against the Faroes midweek there were unbelievable for a 38-year-old. Am I right? 38, is that right?
39, I think.
Oh, all right. You'll not be thankful for that. Yeah, no, he's top class in training. You know, he pulls off these unbelievable saves that people just stop and clap him. You know, he's top class, and rightly so. He's our captain because he knows this club. He was here when he was a young boy, and he came up right through. So yeah, he's a great guy, and in and around the change room, he's brilliant as well.
Yeah. How do you see this one going, Hugh?
Oh, I really don't know. I mean, I think the first goal will be crucial. I think if Hearts score the first goal, they have
game on.
They have the ability to frustrate Rangers. Rangers have not quite been at it. I think Rangers have found it difficult to break down sides that sit in. I think the first goal at Ibix can increase the pressure on them. I'm going to take the easy way out and go for a draw, Peter.
Yeah, are you going for that in your predictor?
I'll go for that in my predictor, I think. I think I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I was thinking about the predictor today. I think Hearts have got enough about them, as Hibs had, to cause Rangers some concern.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Rangers, Ruffy.
I'm going 2-1 as well. No, Rangers. I'm going 2-1 Rangers. We've already spoke who is going to be the big player on the day. It's going to be Craig Gordon.
Yeah.
You know, if Craig Gordon produces the form that he's produced for the beginning of the season, that will be difficult for Rangers. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what game you see Rangers in at home. They always have a big spell of pressure, and they have big spell of chances. Sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't take them. I think they will take a couple, and I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay. Some people are a little bit more confident than that. Obviously, messages coming in, Brit Blue 1872. you can tell which team.
He's going for an away win.
he's gone for Rangers will take 4 or 5 goals off them, nay bother. But always good to get everybody's thoughts on the game and see exactly what you think. But no doubt about it, cracking game. Really will be casting an eye over that one. Motherwell against Celtic at Fir Park, Ruffy. Again, I don't know about you, we were mentioning to the boys the other day there, yes, we like international football, but when you get such a juicy calendar and fixture list like this, I mean, this is one of those weekends where I think you're starting to listen to the tranny and
I think so. I think this is a big weekend, as I alluded to earlier.
I think Motherwell have surprised everybody where they are and the results that they've got. You know, again, coming up a team like Celtic, if they're at full strength, you know, they're at home, but it's a difficult one. I think Celtic have just got too many players up front that will cause them problems.
Yeah, Juranovic might get back for the game. There's doubts over him. James Forrest is back in training. Mikey Johnstone, close to full fitness as well. I'm curious to see how his team is going to play once he's got everybody that he wants available. I mean, I noticed that in the press, you know, I love sometimes when and I love the boys for doing it, when we get to a point where you're looking for a midweek story, so you go and get somebody to talk a player up, and Giacomakis is one that somebody says he'll score 20-25 goals, you know. So we wait and see. I still think he deserves his time, and I think he conducts himself with dignity. I quite like him as a manager. You know, the whole Ange philosophy of the way he wants to play is I'm a bit dubious about, but I do think he deserves the time to get his full squad shoe, and then let's see what he can do.
Yeah, when you consider what he came into, you know, it was chaos.
Yeah.
What he came into. So where he's sitting at the moment, I don't think he'll be devastated where they are at the moment. I think there's a couple of games that have gone past him. I think the Livingston game in particular was a depressing moment for Celtic fans, because I think there was almost a feeling that there was no plan B, and that you know, that this was a game that should not have been lost, and I think most reasonable people will look at that. You know, so is it the only game Livingston have won in the league this season? I think it is.
Yeah.
So Giacomakis might have been crucial actually changing that game about. It would have given them a more physicality up front, but slowly he's getting players back. I mean, I think Forrest over the last 2 years has been a huge miss for Celtic. I'm a Forrest fan, Peter. That sounds very banal to say, but there's certain people who are not. I just think he makes a significant contribution to Celtic in the final third, where it's all about his pace, his goals, his assists.
Well, fans were moaning about him, and then you take him out of the equation, then you go,
there's always a better player when he's not playing, you know.
Yeah, no, but his contribution was so blatantly missed. Never mind assists, he was chipping in with goals as well.
I mean, I just think he's a top-class player, you know, and I think Celtic would be better, obviously, for him about. So getting him in, getting another week under the belt of training, I know, you know, the vast majority of players will be in international duty, but getting another, you know, his feet under the table for another week, get Celtic on. I think we could, and we will do. We'll talk about every game this weekend, but it goes back to that comment I made earlier. It's a crucial weekend. You know, if Celtic, I think it was crucial for Celtic to go to Aberdeen and win, and this is their next step. Go to Motherwell and win, and then suddenly everybody will go, oh, yeah. You know, there might be a challenge here.
Yeah, as far as Motherwell are concerned, though, Ruffy, I've seen a fair bit of Motherwell this season. I mean, the boy Van Veen puts himself about. I like him. I think Tony Watt's done well. He holds that ball up as well. So I think he's. I think there's a real chance of a game. If you're thinking about Hearts getting a foothold, and Motherwell score first.
Well, Motherwell are going to get a game of confidence. They're at home. You know, they've got a good run of results. The players that you've just mentioned there are going to be a handful. I just feel defensively they can be got at, and with the players that Celtic have got up front, they'll cause damage. And it just remains to be seen. The old story: can the Celtic defence not concede? And if they don't concede, you know, I think Celtic will win quite comfortably.
Yeah. Okay. What's quite comfortably for you?
2-0.
It's 2-0 quite comfortably.
Well, it depends when they score. If they score two quite early, it'll be comfortable.
says that, and you never know what's a comfortable win for Ruffy. You know, because remember if Scotland were to be beaten 3-0, then he was calling for the manager's head, and then he backtracked like hell.
I know we're not talking about Scotland yet, and are we going to talk Scotland later on? No?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I'll wait.
Oh, you got something controversial to say?
Not controversial.
Is it a backtrack on something that you opened your gob about?
No, it's just a point I picked up this morning.
Oh, somebody told you in the supermarket?
No, I went down to my local newsagent to get my usual newspaper, and they're late in delivery, so the only paper I could get was The Guardian. So,
is that right? Wow. My producer said Daily Sport. And then the other thing I was going to say, for the benefit of our younger viewers, a newspaper is where there's a collection of news stories and pictures. So just thought I'd let you in on that secret. 2-0 says Ruffy. I think it'll be 2-1 Celtic.
I would think that. I think Celtic will concede. I still think they're a team that concedes, but I think they're a team that scores as well. I think Furuhashi, you know, coming back, you know, to fitness, you know, with what they've got up front, the form of certain players, I think there's Celtic will enough about them to win. Okay,
Andrew Davison says the ones brought up on success spit their dummies out. Forrest is a great player for Celtic. So there's clearly a lot of people there who realise the value of James Forrest. Top player. Dundee, Aberdeen. Now, if you're an Aberdeen fan, it's biting your nails. Well, I've got a point I want to make you on Dundee, and I didn't go to a newsagent's or a supermarket, Ruffy, but I am not for a minute suggesting to you, well, maybe I am, players, bonuses, and, you know, the Dundee players maybe not firing in all cylinders because there is an ongoing argument over bonuses that they can't agree, and the board are not for budging on it, and the players are looking at it and saying, well, you're not giving us our bonuses. We've looked at everything, we've looked at what everybody else is getting, we think this is a fair shout, and you've just blanked it. Now, whether Charlie Adam is injured or not, you still get to a situation where you discuss, you know, having an injury doesn't stop the players speaking to the board and saying, this is what we want, are you going to give us it?
Yep.
I think that is where Dundee are at the moment.
Well, I don't think consciously, because I don't think players consciously think that way, Peter, but subconsciously, is there just a muddle there? I don't know. It's like,
I don't think you can say definitively, Hugh, players don't down tools.
I don't think they don't. I know.
Oh, I've seen. Listen, well, I'll give you an example. Chelsea, Mourinho,
Yeah, well,
absolutely down tools. They
don't
just
know if
did
they went
not
as far-
respond to him.
they didn't respond. I don't know as far as down to. I think it's a bit strong. I think an edge
Wow.
comes off. I think down tools a bit strong.
Well, see, with the minute that doctor rolled onto that park,
Mm.
it was the end.
Mm-hmm.
It was the absolute end. The whole thing just collapsed. The players were not playing for him.
Well, that's true, and we know that has happened with other managers. It happened with Lampard to a
But
certain extent as well.
down tools, in my mind, is you're not giving your all.
Right. Okay. Right. I think there's a case that sometimes that the edge comes off, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's a huge percentage because it doesn't take much to come down in professional football, and you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've watched Dundee twice this year, and I maybe caught them on a good day. I actually thought twice live that I've watched them, they played really well, and I had no concerns about them. One of them was against Motherwell, where I thought Motherwell won, and I thought, God, that's just one of these freak results. I mean, I thought Dundee completely out. I mean, I might be wrong, but I thought they completely outplayed Motherwell that day.
It's a fine line, and then the fine margins, Ruffy. You're getting, you know. I'll give you an example. I know you're disagreeing with me. I'm putting myself out on a limb here on this, but Dundee United. Now, I've spoken to 1,000,001 Dundee United players, right? The Dundee United players under Jim McLean were on a bonus that was miserable. But a basic that was miserable. Sorry,
Bonus
I beg
was
your
huge.
pardon. The bonus was huge.
centre.
And those boys played out of their skin. And some of them have said to me, you know, and I'm talking about the big players, they were saying to me, we were playing games and we were earning as much as a Celtic or a Rangers team because we were winning every week. The bonus was in the bag. And I think it's human nature. If you've got a situation where you are unhappy at work, are you willing to give your all? And can you say definitively, no, that doesn't happen?
I think it might happen with certain individuals. There's no doubt about that. Everybody's mentality is different. I'm only talking for myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Which year are you talking about, Ruffy?
No, that's other people. That's Are you talking about the bonuses with Scotland and all that? That had nothing to do with me.
No, but
there were certain individuals, but these certain individuals weren't playing.
Hey?
These certain individuals that were causing the problems weren't playing. They're part of the squad.
But my point to you is...
Yeah, I know the point that you're trying to make, but from my point of view, I played football for 20 years and I had a lot of things happened in my life before a game. But when that 3 o'clock comes, I'm there with my mates and I'm there for the supporters and I'm out there. Everything goes out the window when the game starts. I've not got enough time to worry about tragedies or anything that's happening while that game's getting played, because if you do that, you're going to end up a cropper.
Yeah.
And everybody's different.
Of course, and that's the point. Mm-hmm. So definitively, can you say it doesn't happen?
Yeah, but again, you've got to think about the person you're harming is your manager. You might not have a good relationship with your manager, so you might say some people might say, well, but the argument's with the board. The argument is with the board. It's not with the manager, and it's not with the set of players you're playing with. So once you go out there, you're all playing for each other.
Yeah. Any chance you could just see, instead of painting the picture, just give me your answer?
No, they're not individuals. I get where you're coming from. There will have a mentality and stuff that.
Yeah.
Particularly when all of a sudden when you're 1 down or 2 down, maybe the enthusiasm of, not giving us any bonuses. It wouldn't be me, but it might be some players.
No, but I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking to myself, there's a real incentive. I mean, I don't know whether Charlie will be back or not. He had a cold. He's raring to go. He'll probably play through that sort of thing. But I think he'll be a huge bonus to get them back. Aberdeen, for me, it's just a car crash at the moment with them.
I mean, Aberdeen need that kind of what we talked about it again, that foothold, you know, not just in a game, but in the whole game, where they come out of a game, no matter how they've played and they've won. No matter how they've played, and they've won, and then and that takes the temperature surrounding the place completely down, and everybody gets back to, you know, some kind of normality. They badly need a result. I mean, Charlie's our pal and he's on the show and all that, but Charlie in the Dundee side in certain games is irreplaceable. I mean, Charlie is at a level, even now at his age, which is very, very, very high. You know, he's technically a very high level player. He's a Premier League player in England. You know, so he's got that pedigree. I think if you look at James McPake's side as well, I think it's quite a decent, strong side. You know, I think it's it's got strengths in certain areas as well. Try to play a certain way. So I think this is a game. If you said to me one game that you would go to the weekend, this is where I would be, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an absolute humdinger. Don't worry, I've got somebody at it. The only thing is that I think I might need counselling for Andrew Shiney if he comes on here on Monday and Aberdeen have been stuffed. That's the only problem. James McPake, by the way, can tell you, the manager, this is how I know this is a story, Hugh, and you know yourself. He said this week the dispute over the bonuses is not affecting the players. So he's getting the question relentlessly week in, and the Dundee papers up there is bubbling along.
Absolutely.
So if you're talking about journalists getting excited, and I'll tell you, I've opened a can of worms with it because Ray says Celtic players down tools and we beat ourselves. That's his attitude to it, and I thought there was a couple of players.
There was definitely a couple of players that.
Oh, there's my point. And the other one is Bob White says, Peter, tell Hugh, Chelsea won the league the following season. Of course they downed tools. Disgraceful.
I've got I agree with that. There were certain Chelsea players that did, and by the way, there's certain Chelsea players that did the same under Lampard. And nowadays, particularly at the top end of the game, players now have the power over managers. Managers will go now. Before, boards would say, we'll stick with Mourinho and we'll get rid of Hazard and whoever else that doesn't like her under Lampard. We'll stick with Lampard and we'll get rid of Rudiger and Jorginho and Werner. That will not happen now.
No.
The manager will go.
The other thing about it, Ruffy, Bob a Job. I love the tags, right? Bob a Job says, how much do you reckon Ruffy gets paid for this? If Peter was my boss, I'd chin him. Just because you don't like my opinion, Bob. Bob's on next week.
What I would say about this game is the two managers are obviously focal in what's happening because both of them are under a wee bit of pressure. This is just my opinion. If Aberdeen lose this game, they'll still have a manager. If Dundee lose it, I don't know if they'll have a manager.
Ooh, there's
what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on in the background?
What's going on?
Well, obviously there's debate between an owner who's in America and I believe the other owner is in America as well.
What does that matter, Ruffy?
I think it matters a lot.
Well,
because they listen to what the fans are saying and they're not there to see.
So is it the same problem at Aberdeen?
No,
Is it the same problem at Celtic?
Problem in Aberdeen because the owner there brought him in. So he's going to get a space of time. Dundee have not got a track record of standing by the managers.
Yeah, that's a different point.
And I think we're at a crisis here now. If the owners say, right, we're not taking all this. The D fans will go mental if they don't win. And this is when these kind of owners react.
Well, I don't think it matters. I think it's an easy cop-out when people say the owner's not there. I mean, at the end of the day, run your club, get the players you want in there. If they don't get the players in, they still have to take the flak, whether they're in America or whether they're in Great Britain. Some people can distance themselves from it. It doesn't affect Celtic not having Dermot Desmond there.
I agree with Ruffy's central point, no. Not about the runners not being there, but the central point of who's under pressure and who's not.
Do you think James McPake could be sacked?
I don't think he'd be sacked. I don't think he might be sacked, and I hope not, because he's a pal and I think he's a good manager, and I hope not. But I think he's more under pressure than Stephen Glass is for Ruffy's precise reason.
Yeah.
See, guys who own clubs, they've got big egos, they're big businessmen. If he sacks Glass, he's saying to everybody, you know what, I got this massively wrong.
Yep.
They don't do that. People in those positions don't like to be proved wrong. And I think that puts Glass in a really good position because he'll get more and more time because the businessman and the businessman doesn't like.
Yeah, I think the thing with James was James quite rightly got the chance to be the manager because of what he'd done behind the scenes and everything, but it wasn't an appointment the way the Aberdeen one was. But
you've got to look at the whole context of the Aberdeen one as well. They get rid of Derek McInnes. Everybody's got their views on Derek, but they get rid of Derek McInnes as a serial, top three guy until the end. He's a guy got to cup finals, only won the one. But they got rid of him, which was a big decision. And then this whole change of culture, we're bringing in this, we're doing this and doing this.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to abandon that. You know, where are we, October? I think Glasgow will get a real chunk of time, Peter.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, they're under pressure and Scott Brown knows it.
Pressure's what I thrive on over my career. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it at Celtic. I've enjoyed it here so far. And now, as I say, it's about us getting results. It's making sure that we get ourselves up that table. We're in a position that we don't want to be in. The performances have been not too bad, but we can get better. We know that together as a team, and we take that on the head. But it's about how we work in here, and we've been working extremely hard, especially the last 10 days, to make sure we're focused on the game on Saturday.
It's a big call this one. Scott Brown might thrive on pressure, but I'm not sure about his 10 teammates, Hugh.
He'll love it.
What are you going for?
Brown will love it. That's what it is. That's just who he is. I mean, you saw that throughout his career. You could have complaints about, you know, technical ability. You never have a complaint about attitude. You never have a complaint about desire. Never have a complaint about effect on his teammates. You just have to talk to Celtic players about Scott Brown. So he'll love it. I agree with you. It's the rest of them you worry about. I think, again, I was going to go for a draw, but I've already gone for a draw, and I'm going to go, here it is, I'm going to go Dundee to win. Dundee to win? What, by 1-0? Yeah, tight. Yeah, wow. Because I was going to go for a draw, but I thought, don't want to cop out again. Oh, well, a draw's a result, isn't it? Yeah. But I'll go for, in my predictor, I think I'll now go for a narrow Dundee win. Yeah, I'm going to go for the cop out, Ruffy. I think it'll be 1-1.
Well, I thought Aberdeen against St Mirren, there was signs there they were beginning to get back on track, and obviously they got a player sent off. So there was signs there, and there was signs against Celtic at certain parts of that game. They were doing some right things. The young fullbacks were looking good, and the boy up front was getting chances. So I might be wrong. I think Aberdeen have got a reasonable track record at Dundee, so I'm going to go Aberdeen 2-1. Yeah, okay. We shall see. You can give us your thoughts on that as well. Hibs against Dundee United. The Hibbies sitting third, all the consternation over Ryan Porteous. It's still going at the moment. I'm absolutely gobsmacked by it, how this one has dragged on so much. And Jack Ross has been basically sitting down defending his player. And this is what he had to say. Those that have had the platform need to be careful not to exaggerate or misrepresent things. I've seen what a 22-year-old has had to deal with. I'm talking about the way there was a complete misrepresentation by people, and this was used but with inflammatory language without thought. It actually stoked a stronger reaction. It is terrible what the boys had to put up with. I've seen sectarian abuse, homophobic abuse, people telling him they hope he dies of a tumour. This is Jack Ross's words on this one. Ryan didn't let me down. He is a young man who made over 100 appearances for Hibs. He will always come back stronger. Now, that for me is horrendous for a manager to come out and highlight really the major problems we have with people in society, Hugh. It's almost no words, isn't it? When you hear it as blunt and as unadorned as that, I hope he dies of a tumour. I mean, where are we getting to? Honestly, you know, where are we going with this? You know, I'm all for football banter, and I'm all up for giving, you know, having views and disagreeing vehemently about things. But by God, it's sodden football, you know. The good thing about this is that the only positive thing of this is I've interviewed Ryan Porteous, Peter, and he's a very strong and level-headed young man. I mean, yeah, I think he's made mistakes. It's a mistimed tackle, for God's sake. That's what I'm saying, but he's the kind of guy that he's been through it before, because he's had controversy in his past. But we really are talking about, you know, we're talking about things that go on in a football park. Do you know what? Just see, when I was reading that statement there, it just hit me in the stomach. He just said to me,
for goodness sake, people, just let's all sober up here.
Absolutely, but do you know what, Hugh? This is the problem, and here is the problem with it, Ruffy. See, and I can't say definitively, 60s. I was going to football in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Certainly 70s and 80s as a fan. But I would never go to a football game, and I can say this hand on heart, I would never shout abuse that was absolutely homophobic, sectarian nature, racist of any nature, because of my upbringing. So, and I know many of my pals who would go to the game and never be guilty of that, never be guilty of it. But what we have now, since social media has exploded, is this constant barrage of lowlifes and bigots and racists who just literally poison the air. And it's open season for footballers. I mean, I was listening to Ian Wright this morning with his son and his grandson. And the abuse that they were talking about, the three black players from England for missing a penalty. The world's gone, it's crazy.
It's gone crazy because of the things that you've just said there. In the 70s and 80s when I played, we never had mobile phones. We never had, texting. We never had, the social media stuff. It's moved on now. And you're right, these people are now hiding behind the social media. They're hiding behind because they can't be caught, because they can't be seen. They don't have to be seen now to be shouting for the rooftops. They just go on a phone and just take an easy way out and put a name against it, and it's out there. And as you said there's a personal touch to this. These people are normal human beings. They might be footballers, but they're just like the guys they're just people who live day-to-day life and have to deal with the same stuff everybody else does. But I would love to know how these people who post these things, how they would react if people said that about them.
Or their son.
Yeah, absolutely. He's only 22.
22.
By the way, Hugh, it's a game of football. We earn our living out of it. We love football. The only thing that we've said on this programme, I thought it was a red card. He made a rash challenge, and the one thing that I think we said on the day was Ryan Porteous is a young man who needs to go through a learning curve, which older experienced players might tell him how to become a better player and a really good player is you don't need to do that. Choose your time.
He didn't need to do it on the day, and he's got a record for for being say over enthusiastic. He wants to go and he wants to be a physical player. That's fine, and he does. It was to me it's a red card all day long, and you just have to look at the laws of the game to see it's a red card, but. It just needs, it's that wee one where maybe Paul Hallam, Darren McGregor or whoever, Lewis Stevenson takes him inside and say, listen, you don't need to do that, you can track him, you can just get, you're quick enough, you're strong enough, you're good. And it just needs to burnish out his game.
Through the years, Hugh, players have made tackles like that.
That's
tons of players in the
that's
70s and 80s and 90s, there's been horrendous tackles. Through the ages, and it just happens.
It happens. And a lot of the tackles that there've been poor tackles in the past. There's been tackles that have extracted, really strong injuries, and there've been tackles at times that have been malicious. We've seen that. We know that. We know the players that. But this Ryan Porteous, even in this occasion, I mean, nothing justifies that anyway.
Yeah.
But in this occasion, it was a reckless challenge, and nobody was hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, as far as Dundee United are concerned in this one, Tam Courts, the Dundee United manager, revealed that Mark McNulty will be sidelined until Christmas after undergoing hamstring surgery. So that's a blow for them.
It's a blow, particularly with Shanklin leaving, and he brought him up there specifically to take over for him, so that is a massive blow for them.
Yeah, okay. How do you see this one going, Ruffy?
Hibs for me.
Yeah?
Again? I think the
year number 9 out of 10. Ruffy goes for Hibs for a win.
No, I think they'll be encouraged though how they performed against Ibrox, Rangers at Ibrox. But obviously the sending off throws it up in the air. You don't know what would have happened in 90 minutes. So I think the home advantage, they should come out buoyant.
Yeah, comfortable?
2-1.
2-1, so not as comfortable as you think. No. Okay, I think the
Hibs have won.
Yep, couple. Yep, absolutely. Ross County, St Mirren. Ross County. Now, this is the problem on a daily basis, which is why you have to tread carefully, Hugh. Not because you're it's really about offering an opinion on what you know are the facts. And Ross County have released a statement today confirming there was no racist abuse after investigation into the alleged incident in their game. We have received confirmation from the authorities that there was no evidence of racist language being used. We now feel that Ross County and our supporters have been fully exonerated. Given the nature of the allegation, it was important a thorough investigation was carried out by the authorities, as Ross County sets very high standards in handling concerns of hate crime. It was made clear from this evidence that absolutely no racist language had been used. The individual who had chanted also came forward during the investigation. His statement was corroborated by sources out with Ross County. So that is a bonus.
But it still lingers on because Dundee United's evidence has been presented to the SFA, which
contradicts.
Seems to prima facie contradict that. We don't know.
Well, the problem is, if anything, it makes it mightily difficult for the SFA to come out and say something. And I give you a similar case. The police are investigating Lee Griffiths and the kick of the flare.
Alleged kick of the flare.
I mean, there's no alleged kick to flare, but the problem is his intent. And then, if indeed there was something there that the police deemed to be dangerous towards members of the public, the difference with that is the SFA now have to wait. So when the police evidence comes out and says that, I think they're.
If they're taken, they've been very careful not to name the authorities. I mean, the authorities, we presume, are the police, and we would think that would be, if it is, that presumption is correct, well, that'll certainly form a heavy way
It gets back to what Peter's saying. It's now a case of prove it. It's a prove it.
Yeah, but sometimes in life, Ruffy, it'll teach you that sometimes, as Hugh just mentioned, there are mud sticks sometimes along the way. We'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. But I think we've gone for, enough on this. Racism seems to dominate our programme at times regularly, although a lot of fans come on and talk about their team, and they're very complimentary about their team, and they want to talk about individual players, which is great, which is what we love doing. And incidentally, we'll hear from one later on. We've got a good bit of news about our one-to-ones as well, Ruffy. Ross County, I'm amazed that they haven't picked up as many points with Malky, because they are playing. I thought they played really good football against Motherwell.
Yeah, they are, and Malky's convinced me now in every interview he's went to that I think they'll get something out of this game. I think it'll only be a point, because I think St Mirren have bucked up their ideas of getting wee breaks here and there, and it's great hearing Jim Goodwin after a game saying, "Oh, we were done in there, somebody with this or there's something in there." And it was getting to him as well, but he was getting fed up saying, if we'd done this, if we'd done that. So I think they're capable enough to go up there and get a goal, one each.
Yeah, St Mirren are unbeaten in 5, 3 draws, 2 wins, playing well, and they've just, at this moment, they've got a good mixture in their team.
I think they have, and they've got little pockets of class as well. McGrath, for example, and they've got the Goodwin attitude. I think they're scrapping for everything. They're fighting for everything. You saw that against Aberdeen, aided by sending off, of course. I'm with Ruffy. I think this is a draw. This is one each.
Yeah. As far as St Mirren are concerned, they've been pulling out all the stops to try and get the young talent that Hugh's just mentioned, Jamie McGrath, on a really good deal, and they've made him a huge offer, according to the Saints manager.
We've made an incredible offer to Jamie. Let's make that clear as well to everybody, that we've made Jamie an offer that we've never made a player in the history of the club. But we're not stupid. We know that he's going to have numerous other offers, and no doubt somebody else will come in and blow us out of the water. But we want Jamie to know exactly what we think of him, and we want to reward him with a great contract. Whether he takes that or not, that's up to him.
Well, fair play to St Mirren, pushing the boat out, protecting one of their assets.
Yes, and I'm sure that huge contract will probably last to January, because in January they know somebody's going to come in to buy them, and it's going to be a lot of money. So you're right, they're safeguarding the club, and quite rightly so.
But a full marks to St Mirren with this one. I can see this one being a draw as well. I think it's got 1-1 written all over it. Did you give us your prediction?
I think it's the same as Ruffy, one each.
Yep. Okay. St Johnstone against Livingston. if we're talking about a game that maybe doesn't have the overall appeal of all the other fixtures, no disrespect to St Johnstone or Livingston, this one I think might be blood, guts and thunder. Is that fair?
Yeah, but I think when we talk about this week, and the theme of this week seems to be, crucial turning points in the season. We're now getting serious, and it was far enough into the season to think that things are coalescing now, and we've got some idea. Where this is important is that St Johnstone, after a sticky start, probably because of Europe, are now looking formidable. They've got another semi-final to look forward to. Now got a settled team, and Livingston are in the mire. And I think this is another crucial game for Livingston. Got to start eking out the nothing each, maybe getting a 1-0 away from home, and I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think this week St Johnstone will win comfortably.
Yeah, well, Callum Davison realises they haven't had the best of starts.
The attitude and the positivity around the place, I've got to say, is really good. It's something I kind of believe in myself, and you got to remain positive, you've got to remain upbeat, you've got to try and improve all the time, and that's what we're here to do. We're trying to improve and try and encourage players to get better. If they do that, then St Johnstone will get better. So there's a real sort of air of enthusiasm at the place. People are really kind of looking forward to training, looking forward to playing games.
Briefly, 1-0 St Johnstone for me.
I'll go 2-0.
Okay. We were talking yesterday, and I'm delighted to say it's one of our one-to-ones that's coming out at the start of next week. I was talking to Xander Clark. I know you're a big fan of him as a goalkeeper. I had a great chat with him, basically looking back on that incredible season as a goalkeeper and as part of a St Johnstone squad that secured the double. I mean, you almost have to scratch your head, say it again, and check that you got it right. St Johnstone won the double last season, League Cup, Scottish Cup, and of course Xander Clark's performances helped along the way, including of course the joys of Sean Rooney, your fullback, scoring vital goals as well. But nevertheless, he's got ambitions to get back into the Scotland squad as well.
It's going to be tough for me, but listen, I've had that taste for it now, and it's up to me on how I perform. If I keep performing well, then it'd be great to get back in the setup, as you say. Hopefully get to the World Cup. Obviously, it'd be everybody's dream to go and be a part of your country at a World Cup.
Yeah, and fair play to him, Ruff. I'd love to see him make it there. He's only 29. If you're talking Craig Gordon's years, he's still got another 10 years, and he's been playing 13 years.
Yeah, I was very vocal when he got taken out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because from a personal point of view, when you're in there and you get a sample of what's happening and you're part of the squad and you think, God, a World Cup coming up, if I keep my head down and keep playing, and all of a sudden the next squad you're out. And I get the reasons now. If John McLaughlin missed it, not being in the squad because he had COVID, it wasn't his fault, so we know the Scotland manager's very loyal to people in the squad, so he brought him in. So it's still a blow. It's still something that he's got to deal with.
Just a couple of things before we finish. I want to say our thoughts, prayers and condolences go out to Chris Divers, who was an ex-Motherwell Hearts and Kilmarnock coach. Chris, only 36, has passed away, and I played alongside his brother John, and it's just devastating news. So I think from everyone in the football show, our best wishes go to the family at this very, very difficult time. Just as a footnote to finish on football, something we all love. I love the fact that Barcelona, with 1.5 billion in debt, Hugh, have just announced that Barcelona have agreed a new 5-year contract for Pedri, and there's a good buyout clause. It's 1 billion. So that covers. He's off in January then.
That's right. So Jamie McGrath will, this is presumably Jamie McGrath set a bit lower.
Pedri, $1 billion, Ruffy. I mean, honestly,
I'd love to be at a board meeting there when they're talking what kind of money they're throwing about. Billions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely bananas. Anyway, Pedri, $1 billion. Not quite the same as Messi for me, I have to say. Just as
Messi, you're talking.
Do you remember the buzz about Messi before he even got anywhere near the team?
Absolutely.
And they had Ronaldinho in the team at the time.
Do you know, I was thinking about that the other day there, because I was watching, there was a bit of Ronaldinho on the telly, and I always think, here's a thing for the punters to think about, players who have been slightly forgotten. I'm not saying that Ronaldinho's been completely forgotten, but my goodness, when I saw some of the clips of Ronaldinho, you see, I mean, and it's like the first Ronaldo as well, you know, I mean, he's been slightly forgotten by history, I think, just slightly.
Isn't it amazing, Hugh, that you've mentioned the two players that I have their strip, their actual match-worn strip from a game from, obviously, I met Ronaldo, the Brazilian, who was a genius, just kicked senseless and had some injuries as well.
I mean, but as a number 9, you know.
And I had one prominent owner of a club in Scotland who said to me, he's a sand dancer, Ronaldinho. I mean, honestly, if he's a sand dancer, I'll take him in my team every day.
Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, Ronaldinho, I mean, just that ability he had, that ability to beat a player, the ability, the strength he had on. I remember the toe-poked goal against Chelsea.
Well,
you know?
Hugh, you know what I think, Ruffy? Have you ever had your mates say, "Come on, we'll go out, come on, we'll nip out up to the park and practice passing the ball with our back"? He passed the ball with his back. I mean, he's outrageous.
I think you should put on record that these two signed strips are in a vault somewhere.
Yes,
far away.
They are far away, I have to tell you. But they'll never take away the memory. Anyway, apart from anything else, we love talking about football. To the countless people who actually share our love of football and have hit the subscribe button, thank you very much for that. For subscribing to the channel, tell your friends, share it with them. And over and above that, if you download the app, you can actually watch the programme on your phone at your leisure as well. And there's so many people sending us messages because when you download the app, you can record a message, and if we use it on the programme, we'll send you out something special as well. But thanks to the countless people who on a weekly basis now are subscribing to PLZ Soccer on YouTube. We really are happy with that. And I'll just give you a little indication of a fan who's now living in Germany, and he posted a picture for his guys, watches the programme every day, and he was out there watching St. Pauli as well. So just shows you people who love the football near and far, Hugh, tuning in.
And I'm hoping to get to Germany next month, Peter, for a game.
Yeah,
I hope so. And I've been there, been to St. Pauli in Hamburg. What a stadium, what a story behind that club as well. German football's the bees.
Yep, I know you love it. Ruffy, we love our football as well, and thank you to you for watching the programme. We'll see you tomorrow.